The Buffs were out in all shapes and forms this week.
But none of them had any shape.
Or form. From the soccer field where the Buffs took on the Longhorns from Texas,
to the volleyball court where the Cyclones from Iowa State blew into town, bringing more than just flying cows and the Wicked Witch from the West.
We'll follow the yellow brick road to the gridiron where the football team is still in search for numero uno.
Could homecoming weekend be the magical recipe for success?
All that and so much more coming up now on CU Sports Mag.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of CU Sports Mag. Alongside Daniel Bernstein, I'm Sean Hauser.
It is Friday the 13th, so unless you're sitting under a ladder or a black cat crosses your path, stay tuned because we got a lot of good stuff in store for you today.
That's right. The Baylor Bears came to Boulder last weekend to take on the CU football team.
Did the Buffaloes get clawed or did they charge the Bears? Let's take a look at those highlights. Here comes Ralphie in good spirits for homecoming. The Buffs hoping to have some magic up their sleeve. Bernard Jackson takes the snap and hands off to Mel Holliday. He hits the Jets 32 yards for the touchdown, and for the 5th time this season, CU is on the board first. Baylor with the ball here. QB Sean Bell launches a pass. This one's intended for Trent Shelton, but it gets picked off by Terrence Wheatley. CU would not be able to convert on that drive, which brings us to the second quarter. Jackson, hey, this isn't where I parked my car. He's intercepted by Corey Ford, and Baylor picks up the ball at the Colorado 38. They can't crack the goal line, so they settle for a field goal. Buffs lead 10-3. However, the lead wouldn't last. Sean Bell finds Trey Payne on his way to the end zone, and Baylor takes a 10-7 lead going into halftime. Sean, you want to take over from here?
Oh, I would love to, and I'll tell you what, the second half was quite the doozy. It starts off with Braylon Davis on the kick return. He's going to cough it up and cause quite the goose chase for the football. Finally, Alvin Barnett's going to give a little kick, but he'll pick it up and take it back to the 35-yard line of Colorado. Later in the drive, this field goal attempt by Mr. Automatic himself, but wait, wide? No good? What? Yes, that's right. The 37-yarder is no good. Score remains 10-7. Baylor here making things interesting as Paul Mosley takes this one 28 yards. Baylor on top 17-10 in the fourth quarter. But no worries, the Buffs have finally decided that they would like to score in the second half this season. Byron Ellis, 9 yards for the touchdown. The score is now tied at 17. Now into the first of many overtimes to come. Baylor's going to start this one off with a 1-yard touchdown by Paul Mosley. However, 4 plays later, Colorado answers. Bernard Jackson finds tight end Ryer Gear in it for the touchdown. That's good enough to advance to overtime number 2. This time, the Buffs waste no time. First play of the drive, Jackson hands off to a man that needs no introduction. That's right, Mr. Hugh Charles. He's going to go 25 yards for the touchdown. Back to Baylor with 1 chance left on 4th down. Trent Shelton finds Sean Bell wide open in the end zone. Folks, this one's not over yet. Into the 3rd overtime, the Buffs finally being able to hold Baylor to a field goal. All they have to do now is score a touchdown and it's over. But Bernard Jackson does just what Bernard Jackson shouldn't do in the situation. Throws the INT. That's all she wrote. Buffs moved to 0-6 in the heartbreaking loss. Let's take a look at the press conference.
I think it was even scoring in the red zone. I go, we're not scoring. We don't score that much at all anyway. I mean, so you kind of get into that. Well, geez, you're having trouble on 3rd down. I go, yeah, we're having trouble on 1st down and 2nd down too. Now that you're 0-6, where would you like to improve? Well, gosh, that's a long list. And I just went through a huge statistical analysis of everything on offense, and there's no one point where you can go, ooh, this is the problem. It's little things in all those areas. So, but I think the big thing is we're doing some things fundamentally well, but we've got to be able to come up with a play at the right time, at the right moment.
Now we've got a new segment on the show this week. Adam McPherson and Amanda Blackwell are going to take it away with the breakdown.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to The Breakdown. I'm Amanda Blackwell, sitting beside Adam McPherson, and we're going to be doing just that. We're going to break down the CU versus Baylor game. Adam, heartbreaking loss this week. I think most people really thought that this Baylor team was one that we were going to have a chance to really beat, and it was going to be our first loss of the season, or first win of the season. Rather, we have lots of losses. But it goes down to 3 overtimes. Bernard Jackson throws an interception to end the game. Can you get any more dramatic than that?
No, you really can't. But one of the things we have to realize is this is quite possibly one of the best games we've seen the Buffs play all year. They put more points on the board than they have all year. They were able to move the ball. 276 yards on the ground, only 75 in the air, though, which is an area they still got to work on. But we saw a lot of confidence building throughout the team. Now, one of the things we hear from Coach Hawkins time and time again is that, when the Buffs do finally get a win, and we're not quite sure when that's going to be, that the difference between the win and the loss is going to be simply 2 plays. And I think we saw that this week, that if we take away, the interceptions from Bernard Jackson, we have a whole new ball game. And you and I are sitting here talking about a win and not another loss.
Which would be very, very nice to do. There really were so many key plays that just didn't go the Buffs' way. Mason Crosby missed a 36-yard field goal. That never happens to Mason Crosby. He doesn't miss 36-yard field goals. Had he made it, the momentum really doesn't swing towards the Bears' way. And we're sitting here talking about the first win of the season, and that would be an incredible thing to be doing. But unfortunately, we're going to have to hopefully get that next week against Texas Tech. What do we have to do for that win?
Well, the Buffs are just going to have to keep their confidence up. We saw some great improvements from them throughout the season. We continue to see those improvements. We're going to have to get rid of those little mistakes. Another big deal we're going to have to work on, and it's been a problem all year, is our defense. We're doing fairly well stopping the run game. It's when the ball goes to the air, our defense starts having problems and big yards are given up. But like we said, we take away those little mistakes, we've got a victory.
And also, Texas Tech lost 38-21 to Missouri last week. It looks like that's kind of a rout. 38 points were scored on them, but they did score 21 points. That's 3 touchdowns against the best defense in the country. Also, a point I think that needs to be added is that Texas Tech has the 3rd best passing game in the nation. So they're going to be really looking to come out strong. They're going to want to get a win against us. We're really going to have a very solid defense this week.
We really are, and I think, with the preparation that Coach Hawkins has been putting his team through, and the improvements we've seen and the confidence that this team has, even with all the losses, a loss, like I've said, is not impossible. It's just going to be a mistake-free game to do it for the Buffs.
Yep, that's going to do it for this part of the breakdown. We'll be back in a little bit. We're going to send it back to you guys.
Thanks, guys. Coming up after the break, we've got some Big 12 action.
That's right, and more from Adam and Amanda. Stay tuned.
Look, there's a moose. Where? Over there. Oh, yeah. Look, over there. I see a fish. A fish with 2 stripes.
Spend time with kids anytime, and it helps prevent crime. It's that easy.
We sing for millions of girls, but helping out in schools, that's the real deal, baby. I know our love can multiply, 'cause you're the X and I'm the Y.
I'm the cute one, you know what I'm saying? So, have you ever been backstage before?
Okay, guys, this is an abacus, an old school calculator. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Like the circle and the square, our geometry is a perfect pair.
Now, why should kids know about gravity?
Well, gravity holds them down.
I once was 1, but now we're 2. I'm spinning out of control.
Oh. Well, Danielle, it was an exciting week in Big 12 football.
It was indeed. Texas A&M played a close one in Kansas against Kansas, and Oklahoma State traveled also to Kansas to take on the K-State Wildcats.
That's right, and the big rivalry, Oklahoma and Texas, also went down. We'll take a look at those highlights. It was another classic Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma here early in the game, drawing first blood. Selvin Young right up the middle, 15 yards for the touchdown. On the next drive, Oklahoma trying to answer. Paul Thompson to Joaquin Iglesias for 13 yards. But Texas wasn't about to make things too easy for the Sooners, as Thompson is eaten up by Brian Robertson for a big loss. Oklahoma still trying to work the passing game. Thompson back to Iglesias, scored the first down, but couldn't get much out of it. Moving on to the second quarter, the Sooners decide to go onto the ground. A good decision, if I must say so myself. Adrian Peterson all the way, 29 yards and 6 points. We've got a tie ball game. Into the third quarter, Oklahoma on top 10-7, but Mr. Colt McCoy has other plans. He goes yard to Lima Sweet for the touchdown. The Longhorns are back up 14-10. But they're not going to stop there. McCoy back up top, this time to Jordan Shipley. Texas now widening the gap into the fourth quarter. Thompson, he's going to take this one himself, but gets nothing but a bunch of white jersey. But this is where Texas nails the coffin shut. Thompson to Peterson, who thinks the play is over, but wait, there's no whistle. Aaron Ross picks it up and takes it home. Texas wins 28-10.
Texas A&M taking on the Rock Chalk Kansas Jayhawks. We pick it up in the second quarter. Kansas leads 3-0. Stephen McGee finds Chad Schroeder. He bobbles it, but he manages to hang on. McGee here once again, this time sees the blitz and quickly gets the pass off to Latedrick Riley, who had 3 receptions for 43 yards on the day. This one being his biggest one. He takes it 35 yards, giving the Aggies good field position and setting up this play. On the 3-yard line, McGee hands off to Javorsky Lane, who crashes the end zone, gets A&M on the board. But Kansas not about to bow out quietly. Adam Barman hooks up with Dexton Fields. He runs at 6 yards for the score, and the Jayhawks regain the lead 10-7. Aggies try to tie it up with a field goal, but Lane Newman's kick is tipped and no good. Kansas takes over. Barman throws one to Brian Murphy. He avoids a few tackles, but ultimately he fumbles, and Texas A&M recovers a huge play for the Aggies right there. They would score a touchdown on their next drive. Kansas here decides to try to pull out a few tricks. The flea flicker, haven't seen that one since these two teams played in 1932, and I think we all remember how that one turned out, Sean. But the Aggies get the sack there, and then here later on, punt is taken down, which was a fake punt, by Brandon McAnderson. He takes it to the 10-yard line, but it wasn't enough. A&M scored 2 unanswered touchdowns and to win 21-18.
Moving on to Oklahoma State and Kansas State, Cowboys and the Wildcats, and we're going to skip it at the third quarter for a moment. Compliments of this kick return by Grant Jones. 90 yards later, he's going to finally be brought down at the 10-yard line by the kicker. Back to the first quarter, Oklahoma State kicker Jason Ricks with this 33-yard field goal. That's good. Now with OSU kicking off, let's see if K-State can join in on the battle of the kick returns. Well, if you're going to ask Leon Patton, he'd tell you, yes, we are. Right up the middle, breaking all sorts of tackles on his way to the end zone. You know how we do it here. 95 yards for the touchdown. The Wildcats back with the ball. Josh Freeman is going to keep this one and take it 21 yards all the way to the house. But Oklahoma State was quick to respond. Bobby Reed, 1 yard to John Johnson. Touchdown, Oklahoma State. But it wasn't enough. Oklahoma falls to the Wildcats, 31-27. Let's take a look at the Big 12 standings. Looks like Big 12 North, Missouri up and Nebraska up to 2-0. Colorado down there 0-2, and it looks like a pretty even match so far. And we're going to give it back to the Big 12 South. Texas and Baylor 2-0. That's surprising out of Baylor. Texas A&M 1-1. Oklahoma 0-1. Now we're going to send it back to Adam and Amanda. Take it away, guys.
Breakdown. Once again, I'm Amanda Blackwell, sitting beside Adam McPherson. We're going to change it up a little now and start analyzing the Big 12 games that you just saw those highlights for. Let's take a look at Texas versus Oklahoma. Texas ended up winning that game in the Red River rivalry, 28-10, and in my opinion, they made Oklahoma look absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you know what? The scoreboard may have told that story, but if you look at the game overall, it really was not that bad. Texas was only up 7-0 going into the second quarter, and actually down 10-7 going into halftime. But what we saw, and we've seen it all season with Texas, is they came back second half, and they looked like an absolute veteran team and just took it to Oklahoma.
They did, and Oklahoma had a few miscues in that game. They had a fumble that was actually supposed to be a lateral. No one knew what was going on. Texas recovered the ball, ran down to to score a touchdown, and Oklahoma was just left there sitting confused, not sure quite what happened there. But basically what happened, the Oklahoma staff and players basically said that they just got outplayed. They got outcoached. They weren't ready for the number 7 Texas team, even though they were a number 14 ranked Oklahoma team. And even when you're that good, you still have to be ready for a team like Texas.
Well, and you look at both teams' stats, both on the ground and in the air. They were able to move the ball fairly well. What came down to it was who made the fewest mistakes, and we've heard it from Coach Hawkins, and we've heard it from other coaches around the league that those who make the fewest mistakes are going to win the ball game.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a look at Texas A&M versus Kansas. We play Oklahoma the weekend after Texas Tech, and then the following weekend we go to Kansas. A&M ended up winning this game 21-18. Unfortunately for Kansas, they led the entire game until the last few seconds when A&M had an 80-yard drive down the field to score the winning touchdown. Heartbreaking loss for Kansas.
You know, and it really was. And it's again, it comes down to the few mistakes and the little details. I mean, at one point, Kansas was up 18-7. Now, to give up a victory like that is just, you know, it's tough. You look at the stats, though. Rushing Texas A&M put 146 yards on the ground, 240 in the air. And, you know, Kansas was just not able to keep up with that. But we still shouldn't go in underestimating either team. Both teams still very solid ball clubs, and they'll bounce back from this.
Absolutely. Kansas has had a bit of a rough season. They've already lost 2 games in overtime, one to Tulane, one to Nebraska. And this is their 3rd heartbreaking loss of the season. I think they're going to be a very scrappy team. They're going to look to come out, play hard against Colorado, and we have a very rough stretch the next few weeks that we're coming up against.
You know, we really do, but it comes down, and I've said it before, who's going to make the fewest mistakes? Anyone can beat anyone at any time. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for right now, so we're going to send it back to the desk.
All right, thanks, guys. Coming up, we're going to take another break, but when we get back, we'll take a look at volleyball.
And Jeff McAdam hits the streets to ask CU students about our football team. Stick around.
People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end. People, let me tell you about him. It's so much fun, whether we're talking man to man.
You don't need to be bigger than life to be a good dad. You just need to spend time with your kids. It takes a man to be a dad.
Lewis and Clark, great explorers. Hi, I'm Thomas Jefferson. Would you check out the West for me? Oh, sure. And they take their keelboat up the Missouri. Oh, Buffalo. Then they built Fort Mandan. They're at 1804. Made some friends along the way. I'm Sacagawea. Through the Columbia Gorge.
There are tons of ways to help with your kids' learning. Find the really good ones on connectforkids.org.
A sweet Pacific Ocean. Yeah!
I propose 3 cheers for those we leave behind.
Congratulations.
It's in paper now.
Good job. Congratulations. Proud of you. All right. Ensign Elliott. Who's going to salute him? Guys, who gets to salute him first?
After falling to the Texas A&M Aggies last week, the Colorado women's soccer team looked to rebound with a win over the University of Texas. The Buffs were able to take the early lead with a goal by Nikki Marshall in the first 5 minutes of the game. Unfortunately for CU, the Longhorns battled back with 2 goals of their own from Carrie Schmidt and Emily Anderson. The second half didn't provide any more luck for the Buffaloes as they lost by a final score of 2-1. After 2 consecutive losses, CU will look to improve their Big 12 record when they take on the Missouri Tigers this Friday.
The Colorado Buffalo volleyball team ruled the court on Saturday as they beat Kansas State at their home court for the first time since 1999. The Wildcats continued their 8-match losing streak with the Buffs taking the win in 3 games. Overall, Colorado hit a successful 52 kills on 136 swings, lending the average of 21% compared to Kansas State's 19% kill average in the game. The Buffs played just well enough to take the win. Senior Austin Zimmerman led the team with a match-high 5 kills on 10 swings. Junior Kristen Karlik recorded 17 digs, leading Colorado to a total of 55 in comparison to the Wildcats' 45. Their Buffs held their own, serving 2 aces per game and putting up 6.5 blocks, all from block assists. The match ended with the close scores of 31-29, 30-28, and 34-32.
A storm was brewing as the Iowa State Cyclones swirled into the Coors Event Center on Wednesday, hoping to blow away the Buffaloes. CU started off strong, resisting Iowa State's attack, but was unable to hold on as the Cyclones strengthened. The Buffs lost the first game 30-20 and the second game 30-25. Lauren Schaefer played a good game with 12 kills, but that still did not help the Buffs overcome the storm as the Cyclones swept away the Buffaloes 3-0. Hopefully, Colorado will redeem themselves on Saturday when they face arch-rival Nebraska in Lincoln.
After a record-breaking start to the season, Sports Mag's own Jeff McAdam took to the streets to ask CU students what they thought about football team's performance so far this year.
Ward, home of the CU Athletics facility. Now with the team on a current 6-game losing streak, we're out to see what the morale is like among students. The team dropping 10 straight games, we wondered what the morale was like amongst students and whether or not they were still supporting the team.
Yeah, you have to be. I go to CU Boulder, so you have to continue to be a Buff fan.
True.
I'm definitely a fan. I think we're only about one call away from winning one of these games, so hopefully.
Up next for the Buffs is a game this weekend against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. We asked students whether there was a chance of us winning and what it would take in order to make that happen.
It's always possible. They just have to they kind of lose it in the end. Their offense just kind of gives it away after a couple good plays. So if the offense just kept doing well, I think we'd be good.
I think they need to make it a passing game instead of a running game. That's going to be their only chance against Texas.
With the CU offense struggling as of late, maybe it wasn't the players that needed to be changed. Maybe the cheering needed to be changed. Maybe a little something like this.
Go Buffs! Go CU!
So maybe it wasn't the cheering that needed to be changed, but regardless, CU has to find a way to come out and win this weekend against Texas Tech. I'm Jeff McAdam, CU Sports Mag.
Thanks, Jeff. After 3 days of battle at the U.S. Air Force Academy Invitational in Colorado Springs, the Buffs tennis team found themselves sending 5 singles players and 3 doubles teams to the championship round. The singles players, Camilla Balassi, Francisca Gendrian, Vera Nurmi, Glacy Torres, and Christina Macy, each won all 3 of their matches to attain first-place honors. The doubles players had a similar fate, as all 3 teams were also awarded the first prize in each of their respective flights. With this tournament, Torres improves her individual record to a perfect 4-0, while 3 other players improved to 5-1. CU's next match will be the Central Region Championships, October 12th through the 25th in Salt Lake City, Utah.
The men's and women's cross-country B teams traveled to Kansas State Saturday to participate in the Fort Hays State Tiger Open. For the men's team, Anthony Chihuly finished the 8K race with a time of 26 minutes and 3.68 seconds. His time put him in 3rd place overall. Rob Thayer finished 8th for the Buffaloes at 26 minutes and 17.12 seconds. The women's team placed 5th overall. Anna Chase took 9th for the Buffaloes. Jen Hooper finished 12th, and Caitlin Schultheis placed 27th. The varsity team will be back in action to compete in the pre-nationals race on Saturday, October 14th in Terre Haute, Indiana.
And now to that part of the show that you've all been waiting for, our weekly trivia question. CU's struggles on the football field have been well documented this season, and they include a home losing streak of 4 games that extends to last season. But our question this week is, when was the last time the Buffs lost this many consecutive games at home? The answer, you're going to have to stick around to find out.
Coming up next, find out what unique talent defensive end Abraham Wright has other than sacking quarterbacks.
Your line, this line is my line. From California to the Virgin Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the blue-green waters, this land was made for you and me.
Discover the endless possibilities of St. Croix, St. John, and St. Thomas. After all, this land was made for you and me.
For you and me. This land is yours.
After averaging 17 points, 5 boards, and 2 steals per game, the Colorado Buffalo Richard Roby was named to the preseason All-Big 12 team on Wednesday. The junior guard joins Texas A&M's AC Law and Texas Tech's Jarius Jackson, among others, on the team. After ending the season with a disappointing loss in the first round of the NIT last year, Roby will try to lead the Buffs into the NCAA tournament this season. Colorado will have its first practice on Friday, October 13th, and its first of 2 exhibition games on November 2nd against the Basketball Travelers.
CU defensive end Abraham Wright has found a new passion, and it's not related to football. Sports Mag's Callie Zanandri reports on his hidden talent that you might not know about.
With 36 tackles, 8 sacks, and 9 quarterback pressures, it's easy to look at Abraham Wright and see his amazing football skills. But when you talk to Abe, you find out he has another special talent. The use of signs isn't uncommon on the football field, but CU's Abraham Wright uses signs in a slightly different way.
My advisor ended up telling me about sign language, so I ended up taking the class. And the first day I wasn't really excited because it seemed real hard. And you know, as I stayed in the class, and after the first few days, I started realizing I started enjoying it, so I just stayed at it.
Like football, Abe's sign language skills took practice.
I'm just walking into class or going to get something to eat. I'm just thinking of words. I'm trying to finger spell them or sign them.
His passion even inspired his teammates to learn sign language.
It's pretty fun, you know, we out here signing to each other sometime. And
learning sign language might be tougher than learning to play, but at this level.
His dedication doesn't go unnoticed by his teammates.
Like football, every time he got something wrong for sign language, he'd get mad at himself. And, you know, it just shows what kind of passion he got.
But Abe loves what the new challenge brings.
When you learn to embrace their culture and you can communicate with them, it's just opens you up to a new perspective in life. Like, these people are just as normal as me.
Eventually, Abe will stop using his hands for tackling, but his passion for sign language will endure long after he hangs up his cleats. Callie Zanandri, CU Sports Mag.
The men's golf team couldn't hold on to their lead at the Wyndon Memorial Classic and finished in 4th in the tournament on Monday. Southern Methodist finished first with a team score of 881, and Kansas rallied from 8th to finish 7th overall. Colorado junior Patrick Grady led the Buffs, finishing 7th overall with a score of 77 on Monday and 220 total. Sophomore Derek Tolan finished with an overall score of 221, putting him in 8th place, right behind Grady. The Buffaloes play again in 2 weeks at the Prestige at PGA West in La Quinta, California.
The Colorado women's tennis player Monica Milewski recently competed in the ITA Women's All-American Championships. She won 3 qualifying matches, including a pair of upset victories over nationally ranked opponents. This made her the first CU woman in 15 years to advance to an individual national singles main draw tournament. Her victories in the tournament included wins over the number 35 and number 59 ranked players in the country. Milewski is ranked 86th nationally, and with this tournament improved her fall season record to 15-5. Because of her dominant performance, we here at CU Sports Mag have decided to give Monica the honor of being our Athlete of the Week.
The time has come to answer our trivia question. Coming into Saturday's game, CU has lost 4 consecutive home games. So let's revisit our trivia question. The question, when was the last time the Buffs lost this many consecutive games at home? Well, the answer, during the 1999 and 2000 season, when the Buffaloes also lost 4 in a row at home.
If you're looking to catch CU sports in Boulder this week, your really only opportunity comes this Saturday. The football team takes on Texas Tech at Folsom Field at 1:30.
That's right, and the volleyball team travels to take on number 1 ranked Nebraska in Lincoln right before heading to Waco, Texas to play Baylor.
The soccer team will be in Missouri on Friday and will take on Iowa State in Ames on Sunday.
The tennis team will then compete in the Central Regional Championships in Las Cruces, New Mexico, October 19th through the 24th.
And joining them in Las Cruces, the women's golf team is going to participate in the New Mexico State Prices Given 5 Invitational. That's all the time that we have here on CU Sports Mag. For Sean Hauser, I'm Danielle Bernstein. Have a good one.
Tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end. People, let me tell you about him. It's so much fun, whether we're talking man to man.
You don't need to be bigger than life to be a good dad. You just need to spend time with your kids. It takes a man to be a dad.
Lewis and Clark, great explorers. Hey, wait. Hi, I'm Thomas Jefferson. Would you check out the West for me? Oh, sure. And they take their keelboat up the Missouri. Oh, Buffalo. Then they built Fort Mandan. They're at 1804. Made some friends along the way. I'm Secretary West. Through the Columbia Gorge.
There are tons of ways to help with your kids' learning. Find the really good ones on connectforkids.org.
The sweet Pacific Ocean